To another Golden State with Mates post-game live. I'm not going to lie, I wasn't going to do this whatsoever. And then Steph told me that I needed to do one. Not personally, obviously, but just through what is an unbelievable, thrilling performance. The Warriors somehow climb out of San Antonio 2-0 over the past 3 days. How they won this game, I know how they won it. His name's Steph Curry, but man, it did not look likely whatsoever, particularly down 10 when Steph comes back into the game with about 7 minutes remaining. I'm running out of superlatives to describe this man. And my biggest takeaway from this, so he goes for 49 points, 9 threes, just some ridiculous, audacious shot making. And my biggest takeaway that I want to bring to the table here from the past 2 games, and also going back to the home opener against the Denver Nuggets where he went for 42 points, is that Steph's not going to finish top 5 in MVP. He's not going to finish top 10 in MVP. But can he still be the best player in the world on any given night? Yes, he can. Victor Wembanyama is already probably a top 5 player in the league. And in back-to-back games, Steph came into San Antonio and stole the show. And that's not to say that Wemby played poorly. Wemby was huge again in this game. 26 points, double-digit rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, including the Jimmy Butler block at the end was one of the most ridiculous blocks I've ever seen. I thought Jimmy had a layup. I was like, oh, yep, we're going to be in front. 33 seconds to go. And then almost out of nowhere, Wemby just gets his arm to it. And I'm there. I was laughing to myself because I was disappointed that it got blocked and the Warriors didn't go in front. But 2, I was just laughing. I was like, I don't know. I can't even blame Jimmy on that one. There's literally one person in the entire world, maybe one person in the entire history of the world that blocks that shot. And he happened to be there in that moment. So I couldn't even blame Jimmy. So it's not like Wemby, he had a 31-point triple-double 48 hours ago. Wemby played well over these 2 games, very well. And yet Steph Curry came in and stole the show with 95 points over the last 2 games. And again, some ridiculous, audacious shot making. And it just makes me think that if you're the Warriors, if you're Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the front office, you've got to do everything you can to try and maximize this man. Because I tell you what, if we're getting some kind of indication of what the post-Curry era will look like, what we've seen, first of all, when Steph was resting, well, not resting, he was sick, the 3 games he was absent. And then even in this game, when he's off the floor, so I'm pretty sure the Warriors, he was off the floor for about 10 minutes in this game. If you have a look at what did he play, 38 minutes? 36 minutes. So he was off the floor for 12 minutes in this game. And I'm pretty sure the Warriors scored 15 points. Their offense without him was absolutely nowhere whatsoever. It was hard to watch, right? And he ends up as a +9 in the game as well. So the Warriors get outscored pretty significantly in the minutes he was off the floor. So that's my biggest takeaway, is that we've now had him outplay who I think is probably a top 5, top 6 player in the world already in Wemby twice. We've had him outplay Jokic once, who I think Jokic is far and away the best player in the world. Just give this guy a chance. Give him an opportunity. And it felt as if for the majority of that game that he was doing everything he possibly could and that the Warriors were still going to lose that game. It was literally the epitome, up until late 4th quarter, it was literally the epitome of one guy against an entire team, which I didn't think was possible necessarily in a manner like this. Now, credit to Pods, hit a couple of big threes in the 4th. Credit to Gary Payton II, 2 huge threes in the last 5 minutes. Jimmy had 21, provided enough supplementary scoring for the Warriors to get over the line. But what a crazy final sequence. You go from the block from Wemby on Jimmy, 33 seconds to go. And I'm just there laughing. I'm screaming, okay, you don't need a foul. Fox misses a jump shot. Steph takes it very quickly to the other end and then cleverly draws, pump fakes, draws a foul. Goes to the line, down 6.8 seconds or 6.4 seconds, whatever. Just calmly makes both. And I wasn't nervous. I'm not going to lie. I was just he'll make him. He's Steph Curry. He'll make him. And then The Spurs offense down the stretch, not great, it must be said. And Fox takes another fall away at the buzzer, which must be said, like agonizingly falls off the rim from a Spurs perspective, but it's not the greatest shot to take, to be fair. And credit Gary Payton II, got a decent contest up. But again, I'm just watching this and thinking, yeah, you gotta maximize this. Come on. You got to try and maximize this as much as you can. I know Joe Lacob is very protective of his young guys and pods, and I can understand. He's a businessman. He wants this product to be good after Steph Curry. I get it. I understand that completely. There's got to be a balance, right? And I think watching this, you've got to say Steph Curry can still be on any given night the best player in the world, and his teammates aren't good enough right now for his team to be in championship contention. So something's got to happen from that perspective. And I feel like we've been saying this for a while, right? So we'll see. FTW says, absolutely insane game. Wemby and Curry going back and forth is must-see TV. I was almost more excited in this and more edge-of-the-seat stuff than the Denver game, which went to OT. Empire said Kerr had GP2, Buddy, and Horford in a lineup with Curry in the third. Buddy, GP2, Horford couldn't score almost the whole game, which is why Curry had to do all the third quarter scoring himself. FTW, GP2 hit some clutch, huge threes, and Horford played some solid defense. Buddy, on the other hand, I don't know how you can justify him getting any minutes at this point. I don't know how you can justify him being on the team, aside from being Jimmy's best mate and a comedy duo. Empire, GP2 hit shots at the end, but Curry should be playing that hard at his age this early. I think Kerr should have put Kerr should have put Will and Post in to help Curry with the scoring in the third quarter. How about Post had an amazing sequence in the first quarter where he blocked Fox at the rim and then hit like a moving three. It was like a Draymond dribble handoff and Post in a corner three. I was like, oh my goodness. And then he plays a total of 7 minutes in the game, which I was like, I don't know. I feel like I want to see him play a little bit more, but anyway. And then Richard's first quarter was extraordinary. That finish he had when Steph was pushing in transition finds Richard. He's going at the rim. Wemby's right there, and it's like, oh, okay, this is going to be a block. And then he just cleverly goes up and under the basket to avoid the shot blocker and finish. I was like, man, this dude's smart, and he knows what he's doing, and he can execute. Again, he only played for 16 minutes in this game. Some of that was foul trouble. He had 4 fouls. Pods is coming off the bench, but he's playing a lot more. Like Pods nearly plays double the minutes in this game. And again, it wasn't great from Pods, but he had 2 big threes and 2 where it was like not necessarily like wide open threes or like end of shot clock threes. It was like, no, I'm just going to step into him and knock him down. And I think that's huge because I think his confidence has been waning quite a bit with his underwhelming form to start the season, must be said. Sorry, just getting back through your comments here. Thandecker says Pods and Buddy hit some clutch threes. Buddy didn't. I think you mean GP2. What do you think of Will starting? I don't love the fact that Draymond is starting at the 5. I've said that all along. I've said that for months and months, probably over a year now. I don't know. I think I'd still like Post probably in there, I suppose, because that's kind of the big man you've got at the moment. And I want Will Richard to play heavy minutes. I just don't think he needs to necessarily be starting. All right, hang on. Let me get back through the comments here. Sorry. F2P says, so we're going to apologize for saying Curry's old, washed, or lost a step. I'm just reacting to what I see. And he obviously, during his sick period, he looked not great. At no point did I lose faith in Steph Curry in terms of this kind of production and performance and this ability. He's one of the greatest players of all time, right? And you need to see a significant stretch of games where Steph Curry's struggling, I think, to state completely that he has lost a step. What I was saying after that Thunder loss was, can these guys, these veteran guys, Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, do it across the course of a whole season? Okay, they've just won back-to-back games against a very good San Antonio team, against Victor Wembanyama, and looked really, and particularly Steph, has looked absolutely amazing. Okay. But as someone just said before, Steph shouldn't have to do this. You don't want Steph to be having to do this on a nightly basis across an 82-game season. Okay, so where do the Warriors get that support from? Because if this is what it's going to take, then we're not going to get this Steph Curry every night. That's unfair on him, right? But that's kind of the reality facing the Warriors right now. So I'll put my hand up and say, well, I don't think I ever fully. I don't think I fully stated that I said I didn't. I've never said that Steph Curry was washed by any means. I said that he looked very bad in his return game in OKC and the few games he had before he was out with the illness, and he did. That's just facts, and I'm just stating what I'm seeing, right? And again, at no point did I say he was washed. I think you do have to question though at 37 years old, and same with Draymond and Jimmy. Can they do it? It's exactly why I don't want Draymond starting at the 5. Like, can he do that? Yes. Do we want him doing that across an 82-game season before you head into the playoffs? No. Look what happened last season. Okay, Draymond looks very weary come the playoffs, and Steph does his hamstring, which I have no doubt was contributed to by how hard the Warriors had to play following the All-Star break. Are we bottom of the group because of the point differential? I'd assume so, yes, because we got blown out by Denver a week ago. Mr. Boombastic, Pods and JK are gone mid-season trade. JK Pods and a first for Trey Murphy. Send it in. Trey Murphy had 35 and 6 today. Empire says, I still think Warriors should trade Pods, JK, GP2 and Buddy. We need some consistent shooters. There is like $35 million to $37 million that you could kind of utilize between those 4 players that you mentioned, which could get you a very good player. Zendex says Dre almost cost us the game with those 5 fouls. He needs to chill. I'm not even sure it was the fouling from Draymond that I was really frustrated with. I kind of respect the fact that he continued to go at Wemby like extremely hard. Like just kept going at him. It was like, I don't care that you are the best shot blocker in the league. I'm just going at you. I'm just gonna try to I'm trying to force you into showing me some respect. And he had one tough finish over him, and then the rest was like Wemby was like, man, what are you doing? And he got credited as 3 blocks. I swear he had more than that. Draymond got his own back on one occasion, but Draymond goes 3 of 12, 0 of 4 from 3. Weird, like another weird game. 6 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 blocks. Like just another hilarious Draymond Green game where it was a lot of good, a lot of bad. Him just going at Wemby repeatedly felt like just an 8-year-old kid going at his 15-year-old older brother who's like not just 1 foot taller than him, but like 2 foot taller than him. Hilarious. Then next says that Wemby block on Jimmy was crazy. Yeah, I wasn't even mad. I was not even mad. I was kind of laughing. I was like, man, there's literally one person in the history of the universe that would have blocked that, and he had to be there in that moment. Empire says we probably won't, but I want to see a Curry, Richard, Moody, Horford, and post lineup. Don't mind it. So you see that at times, I suppose. I wouldn't mind seeing the double big Horford post, but I just don't think Steve loves that for defensive reasons. Cornelius says Post's going to have to play more with Dre. Hope Steve doesn't think small ball good for the whole year. That's like, I don't get the post stuff. I really don't. I think his recent games have been excellent. He's a little bit feast or famine when it comes to the 3 ball, but again, he blocks Fox at the rim in the second quarter, and I'm like, that just epitomizes like he has had significant improvement in his defense to start the season, and yet his minutes are still down on his rookie year. And I know you bring in Horford, but there still should be significant minutes for Quentin Post to play. So, yeah, I don't really understand it. Jeffrey says small ball works on the Spurs, but not on the rest of the league. We got the Pelicans next? Is that what's the schedule looking like? Let me have a look. Obviously, we're 3 games into this 6-game road trip. I think it's the Pelicans on Sunday, isn't it? Because I think I saw Jordan Poole will not be playing. Yeah, Pelicans On Sunday, then the Magic, then the Heat. You got to win 2 of those 3 games, I would have thought. And then if you get to 10-7 after 17 games, that's actually based on the schedule. I think that's actually pretty good, to be honest. Like 10-7, I'll take. If you ask me, could we be 10-7 looking at the schedule through the first 17 games? I think I would have taken it. Cornelius says, man cooking, let's just enjoy him cooking here. Superstar, let him do him and celebrate the performance. We don't need him to do every game. We got help coming. Okay. Jackson says, Pods with the tenacity, got beat by Fox, but kept with him for the chase down block, then hit a big 3 at the end. Yeah, Pods is coming off the bench, and I think if you ask Brandon Bajemski in preseason or in training camp, we're going to be 14 games into a season or 13 games if you go back to Wednesday. And Will Richard, the 56th overall pick, late second round selection, is going to be starting over you. Pods would be like, what the hell are you talking about? How is that possible? Right. And so he'd be disappointed with what he's done so far this season and the fact that he's relinquished. Like, you can understand Moody starting over Pods. I think that's fair. But he would be pretty pissed. And not in his wild imaginations would he have imagined that Will Richard would be starting over him right now. But in fairness, he did play 30 minutes in this game and Richard played 16. So it's not like he can really complain about it. Obviously, Kuminga out in this game. I think you saw some of the absence of Kuminga, not necessarily in him himself, but some of like the 3 and the 4 guard lineups we saw, and I was just like, man, this is not great. Like, we've got like Steph, Buddy Hield, Richard, and GP2, or Steph, Buddy Hield, Pods, GP2 out there on the floor at the one time. I'm like, can we play with some size, please? Seriously. And I know like they don't necessarily view GP2 as a guard, but he's like 6'2" at the end of the day. I don't know. I would have expected with Kuminga out that they might have gone to Guy Santos for a little bit, but maybe Steve's like, well, doesn't really matter positionally. It's more so which guys do I trust. So, and in fairness, like GP2 hit a couple of big 3s. So I thought GP2's first stint in the first quarter was horrifically bad. He had 2 where Steph dimed him up at the rim and he missed both. Like, he missed a running layup and then he missed a little float shot. Then I think he had a couple of just stupid turnovers, but he redeemed himself in the fourth quarter. So well done to Gary Payton II for sticking with it, I suppose. But I'm still not sure. Like, I want to see this team with Melton back, right? Because I think he's an interesting piece. And then the Kuminga part of it, I don't know. Do we give him some leeway because this knee injury might have actually impacted him over recent games? And that's why he might have lost some athleticism and not been as dynamic. I don't know. Yeah, we'll wait and see. Jeffrey says we need a third scorer bad, someone who can create their own shot, not rely on the spacing just when Curry or Butler don't have it going. Trey Murphy's the man. Dean Melton could, in theory, create his own shot, but he can't stay healthy. Yeah, I'm really interested to see what we can get from Melton, but I don't want to be relying on that. And I feel like the Warriors need a trade of okay, what about this one? What about Buddy Hield and Pods for Kobe White? That feels like a deal Chicago might make. Simply because you've still got Pods under contract for another year and a half. And Kobe White is obviously going to be a free agent. The Warriors would have to pay him big to bring him back. So I'm not even sure if the Warriors would do it because of that. Maybe they just prefer to hold on to Pods. But if you need a third guy that can create off the dribble, get by his guy that can shoot it, third scoring type, I'd prefer the third scoring type to be a forward. That's why I really love what Kuminga was doing at the start of the season, because I'm like, oh, well, this is the third guy. This is the third scorer. Okay, and it's in a position you want as a forward, big guy in the front court, athletic, as opposed to another guard. Like, there's a chance if we traded for Kobe White that he would just kind of be not buried, but like in a 20-minute per game role rather than like, because like how much could you play Steph and Kobe White together? That's my problem. So I'm not sure the interest in him is going to be there. But if you wanted to say, all right, let's just upgrade the Buddy Hield spot and you'd have to give up pods in the process to Kobe White. Does that interest you? And Chicago are like, well, we've actually been pretty good this season without him. We don't really want to have to pay him in free agency. Maybe that's what you look at. When is Melton coming? Should be in the next couple of weeks, I think. I think the start of the month, they said he was going to be reevaluated in 3 weeks. So I'm assuming he's going to be reevaluated in a week. And then I'm just assuming it's going to be very soon after that. And then there's the Seth Curry piece of this as well, which I'm not sure what's going on there. Jackson says, isn't Melton really bad at making shots near the rim? Could have sworn he's a 50% field goal shooter. Yes, that was the big concern in Philadelphia, that he could make baskets around the rim whatsoever. Empire says, Warriors need Kobe White. Cornelius says, I don't think Kobe White fits our system. Yeah, he feels like this is the issue with kind of dynamic score first guards, is like it feels like a player the Warriors need, but I think we got an appreciation with the Schroeder acquisition last season that they feel good on paper and in theory, because it's like, oh, they can bring this scoring, playmaking, shot creation element, and then it just doesn't work whatsoever. So I feel like the Schroeder piece might prevent the Warriors from making a similar move again in terms of a guy like Kobe White. But again, if you could do Buddy Hield and something for, what is he on, like 14 million? So it might have to be, I don't even know what Pods is on. Is Pods still on like 3.6 or something? You might not even be able to get to it with Kobe White and with Pods and Buddy Hield for Kobe White. But it's so interesting because they do have some. I just think Buddy's got to be moved. If he's going to play like this, man, like that's $9 million. You've got to be able to find something more valuable with that salary spot and just add whatever picks. Again, who you can get, I don't know. The other thing that I just want to mention as well is people have got to understand, particularly once we get to the deadline and even just after it, the Warriors as a team over the first apron, I am 99.9% sure they cannot sign a buyout player making over the tax, or previously making over the taxpayer mid-level exception. So non-taxpayer mid-level exception, I should say. So I saw Kawakami's piece yesterday and speaking about a heap of different trade targets, which is great. But he mentioned CJ McCollum as like, oh, the Warriors would be interested in him if he got a buyout with Washington. And there's a chance CJ McCollum maybe gets bought out by the Wizards come mid-season. The Warriors could not sign CJ McCollum. I'd love CJ McCollum as like a 6-man kind of bucket getter, right? That'd be great. Maybe in free agency you look at it. But right now, if he gets bought out, the Warriors can't get him. So that's what we got to think about, because a lot of these things, well, it's like, why trade for this guy if this guy gets bought out and we could get them? Again, usually there's a reason guys get bought out, because they aren't really too and they're not really impactful on the next team they go to. And secondly, again, the Warriors aren't in a position to be able to go and get someone who was previously making $14+ million. Jeffrey says, what about we get PJ Washington from the Mavs? He's a big body. He's not trade eligible. No, because he got his extension. He's not trade eligible until the offseason. So that can't happen yet. Jackson says, how about MPJ? Do we have contracts to match? Just if it was Kuminga, Buddy, and Pods. Am I doing that for Michael Porter Jr.? I don't think so. Empire says, it's so annoying that Kirk keeps playing Buddy Hield. What does he see in him that the Warriors fans aren't? It is really pissing me off. What I would say about Buddy Hield is, and I said this, I think, after last game, I believe, that it feels like you get really good stints from him and then really bad stints from him, and we're getting a really bad stint from him through the first 14 games of the season so far. And I think Steve's kind of like, I just got to play through this bad stretch because I know at some point he's going to play a period of good games like he is. We saw that kind of last season. Like he started off hot, then was like pretty mediocre almost the rest of the season. And then we got to the playoffs and it's like, oh my God, Buddy Hield's dropping 33 on 9 of 11 3-point shooting in a game 7 against the Houston Rockets. So it feels like Steve's just kind of sticking with him rather than like completely DNPing him because he knows that at some point he'll turn it around. But I don't know. That's the only argument I can make for it, right? Cornelius says you need a high IQ scorer like Avdia from Portland. Denny Avdia has one of the best. Well, I wouldn't even say one of the best. I think that's the best non-rookie contract in the entire league, bar none. That is an unbelievable contract. I would love, like Denny Avdia. I mean, the Warriors probably should have drafted him. They should have just traded down from Wiseman at pick 2. Like they could have traded down with Chicago when Wendell Carter Jr. was on Chicago, got Wendell Carter Jr. in the 4th pick and taken either Hallie or Avdia at pick 4. And there were reports that they were interested in Avdia. And we've obviously heard previously as well about their interest in Halliburton. Through Bob Myers has admitted himself. Just an absolute... Those 2020-21 drafts are just sickening. Like, really, because you have the 2021 where it's like you could have traded down, got another piece, and drafted Halliburton or Avdia. And then the 2021, it's like Kuminga and Moody is still on the team. So it's not like a complete disaster like Wiseman. But then it's like, well, you could have had any combination, essentially, of Franz Wagner, Jalen Johnson, Trey Murphy III, Alperen Şengün. Like, you could have had any combination of those 4 players. Just ridiculous. Jay says, do you think JK would play better if it's him, Pods, Moody, Richard, and Horford? I know Kerr always wants either Steph or Jimmy on the floor at all times. I want to give, I don't know, maybe I'm just supporting JK too much. I just think when Steph went out, it kind of ruined his rhythm a little bit. And then he's got this knee issue that I just don't want to write him off too quickly. I think he can still play a role, but maybe that's just me being a bit too optimistic. Jackson says no one wanted to move up during the Wiseman draft. There were legitimate reports that the Bulls were willing to do because the Bulls saw Wiseman as an upgrade on Carter and were like, all right, here's pick 4 and Carter for pick 2. And then like the Warriors, I feel like the Warriors wanted Halliburton or Avdia, but 2 was like too much of a reach for those guys. So I don't know. Berserk Monk, Warriors had too many chances to get Denny past him in the draft, and then when he had to dump Poole, they should have gone after him instead of CP3. Yeah, good point. I don't know. It's sad. It's sad, man. What this team could have been, I don't know. But I don't. Let's not get into too many hypotheticals because this should be an episode about what we just saw with our very own eyes, and that was a Steph Curry masterclass. 49 points, 9 threes, carrying his team to victory yet again. At 37 years old, just absolutely unbelievable. Jeffrey says Kuminga ball control sucks and his decision-making is subpar along with his shot selection. His decision-making and shot selection was good, though, through the first 6 or 7 games. Like, it was. So, can you get back to that? Because it's like, again, it's not that long ago that he was actually playing really well, and it was like, oh, maybe they can't trade this guy because he's actually fitting with what Steph's doing. So, yeah, we'll wait and see. I'm going to finish it up there, guys. Been going for about half an hour again. I wasn't going to do this episode, but I just thought Steph Curry deserved to be spoken about after a performance like that. Just unfreaking believable. Warriors get a huge win over the Spurs to move an 8-6 on the season. Things feel a lot more optimistic after obviously having lost 5 of their last 7 games before these last 2, and obviously that loss in OKC earlier in the week, which was absolutely disgusting, but fortunately they're a little bit back on track now, and in particular Steph is obviously back on track with 95 points over the last 2 games, and if Steph is going to play at this level, then the Warriors can compete against almost everyone, essentially, except for OKC, because we've seen them beat the Spurs now back-to-back games and obviously beat Denver in an overtime game as well. Going to finish it up there. Hang on, we've got a question. Jackson says another what if is, what if Steph hadn't got sick this year? Well, hopefully we look back at it at the end of the season and think, well, that was just a blip on the radar and we've still made the playoffs anyway. But yeah, I mean, these guys are always going to miss periods through illness or injury. Steph had his early illness, missing 3 games. It's disappointing. I think the bigger disappointment is the fact that I don't know how much that illness contributed to his back-to-back really poor games in Milwaukee and Indiana, because they're 2 games the Warriors should have won, and had they done so, they would be 10-4 right now and looking excellent. So those 2 losses really, really hurt. Empire says, might be a dumb question. Do you think 21 Curry was better than 2016 Curry? Yeah, as in the 2020-21 season, where he led the league in scoring that year, didn't he? I think, and was he top 3 third in MVP? I know what he was doing over the final stretch of that season, where the Warriors were going nowhere, and then they rattled off 15. They were 15-5 in their last 20 games or whatever. I don't know. It's really hard to sometimes evaluate individual performance in comparison to like the team. So you would say 15-16 unanimous MVP, team goes 73-9. That obviously makes a huge difference, but he was unbelievable in 2020-21, particularly given his team kind of just sucked, right? Like Clay was obviously out. Jordan Poole wasn't Jordan Poole at that stage. You're running around with Wiseman, Kelly Oubre Jr., Kent Bazemore is your starting 2 guard. JTA's like, if you look back at the rotation at the end of the season, where they actually got helped out because Oubre and Wiseman were both injured, and so your two lowest IQ players were out, and then suddenly the Warriors were far better. But even if you look at the rotation at the end of the season, it's like Bazemore starting. It's like Steph, Bazemore, Wiggins, Draymond, Loon, and then Poole coming off the bench kind of into that 6-man role. JTA playing heavy minutes. Was GP2 there, I think, as well? And then Michael Mulder. good old Michael Mulder. Am I missing anyone? I don't know. That was a fun time. Jackson, Pearl Sunday, should the team rest the big 3? I hope not. The Pelicans have still got some talent, right? So, and Zion could be back for that. So it's kind of a scary game when you consider you've already lost to Milwaukee minus Giannis in Indiana. Anyway, I'm going to finish it up there, guys. It's time for me to get some dinner. It's just gone 5:30 p.m. my time. So, quiet Saturday night ahead, but I don't know. Might just go and watch the highlights from the game again and watch Steph go to business. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that'd be greatly appreciated. You can follow me at POC252. That's POK252 on X/Twitter. Golden State with Mates on TikTok and Instagram as well. And please check out the Patreon if you haven't already for bonus episodes. Let's do it again, potentially on Sunday after the game against the Pels.